I think that AI, at the moment, there's a lot that's already being done in terms of content moderation. There's sentiment analysis, there's, natural language processing that actually already helps filter out a lot of hate speech. But I think that in the next 10 years, we will still always need to have a human in the loop, basically, because there are just some things that an AI can't process as well. For example, certain contextual things such as sarcasm, or maybe even kind of like in-group language, or kind of, I guess, kind of under the wraps kind of language.
So something that I believe will happen with AI in the next 10 years is that the capabilities of detecting hate speech are going to increase. However, I feel like AI will not be smart enough to very reliably and efficiently detect all the hate speech and decrease its error rate to an acceptable rate for automatic deletions, for example.
When you work in interdisciplinary pairs, what's different is that you have people who approach the same problems from different perspectives. I think that's a challenge and a benefit, but I think that, for example, you have a way from computer science that's a lot more like phenomenon based, where we really do a little bit something more like A/B testing or usability testing. Whereas from a psychology perspective, what I learned is that it's a much more foundational theory based approach.
When it comes to the work between the Großklags group and our group, the interdisciplinary approach has been very enriching. Already coming from the epistemic perspective on research. So the computational scientists that we're working with when it comes to AI ethics have very often a very phenomenon-driven approach, where they have strong focus on certain special issues. Whereas us coming from the psychological background, we are more of a like abstractly theory-driven group. And so having those different perspectives put together was has been quite the fruitful ground for our own research questions and for further theory as well as phenomenon understanding.
So, social media has a huge content problem in terms of quantity and also quality, and also just like breadth of just, how many cultures and micro communities are using this platform. And there's a problem not just with like, how the sheer amount of content being produced, but also the amount of the diversity in hate speech and misinformation and kind of like uncivil behavior online. And how AI-based tools can work with this is, it can learn, potentially it could learn different contextual triggers or nuances. It can maybe learn different behaviors and patterns in users and people in order to fix problems, basically, for moderators to help decrease their workload and make their experience more efficient.
So one very interesting approach how AI-based tools can address online undesirable behavior online has been shown by Kevin Munger, a researcher who used bots on Twitter, which would address people who use racial slurs. So instead of deletion, blanket deletion, which has all of those implications to freedom of speech and so on, this tool is just on a more light touch intervention addressing the use of racial slurs and of harmful language. And by appealing to social norms, actually showed that you can effectively decrease the use of such incivil language. And so our team at the moment is looking into ways of replicating findings that were found by Kevin Munger, and also considering the ethical implications that might actually arise from use of tools like this.
The aim of my project is to improve online community dynamics and moderation, focusing particularly on personalizing AI technology used to improve the usage, adoption, and effect of moderation tools and strategies that govern and shape our online communities.
So from my perspective, The aim of our project is to, on the one hand, develop, and on the other hand, ethically understand and actually like, how can I say that? To develop and ethically understand and also responsibly implement methods that effectively decrease vitriol and hateful language online in order to help establish a less polarized and more inclusive society.
So what my project can help with is just all forms of online communities around the world. I hope that the insights that we find are going to help to build a safer, more inclusive online community and improve the user experience for online community members and moderators.
So the findings of this project can be used in practice on the one hand by social media forum providers in this arms race between organized hate speech and also just randomly occurring hate speech and civil actors that want to decrease this kind of vitriolic language and rhetoric.
Working with Niklas is very inspiring for me. You know, we check in with each other. He's a great sounding board. And, you know, we have both such different approaches to, you know, the PhD, to the problem that we're actually looking at, you know, and we're both, I love talking to him just to get a different idea on how to frame a problem or even solve a problem, because he has a different skill set than I do, especially coming from psychology.
Working with Tina is inspiring and actually quite enriching because of this, what I mentioned, this different background that we're having, like me coming from the psychological perspective, her coming more from the computational science perspective. It's been very, very interesting to see her perspective and to hear her opinions about things that might sometimes just come from like a different angle, which I would otherwise not have considered.